Imagine being trapped by terrorists in a tiny bomb shelter, one of 40 people. You do your best to survive as the laughing terrorists murder those around you one by one. The victims pile up near you and on you as you struggle just to breathe amongst all the smoke and gas and effluence of death. In the end, you are one of only 10 who survive the 5-hour nightmare. This is the story of Rafaela Treistman, a survivor of the Nova Music Festival massacre. In this Anchor podcast, you'll hear Rafaela's tale of terror, sorrow, and loss that began on October 7th and continues even into the present. It is a story that must not be missed. So good afternoon, Rafaela.
Good afternoon.
It's a great honor to have you here at Connect Studios with our Anchor podcast, Anchor of Our Faith. It's the hope that we have, and your story brings a lot of hope to many people. And before we dive into what happened to you a year and a few months ago, I would like you to introduce yourself. Who are you and what brought you to Israel? Because obviously you're not an Israeli-born woman.
So my name is Rafaela. I'm 20 years old. I'm from Brazil, São Paulo. I've been living in Israel for about 4 years now.
Bom dia?
Bom dia.
Bom dia.
Yeah, that's good morning.
Okay.
And I was a good student, just a very normal girl, very geeky as well. And I'm Jewish. My mother's family, they're all Jewish. And I always heard a lot of things about Israel and about the culture and about the places, of course, Jerusalem.
So you kept your Jewish identity there.
Yes.
Okay.
In Brazil and all around the world outside of Israel, there are a lot of Jewish communities. And I was a part of one. I did like a juvenile movement. That's how they keep like the culture and they explain about Judaism and about Israel and everything. So I was into those conversations about this place.
So you were not hiding your Jewish roots?
No.
The opposite.
Not at all.
You were active in Jewish youth movements and stuff like that.
Yeah. And actually, I studied in schools that they weren't Jewish, like schools with no religion, like they don't teach religion in schools.
But public schools.
Yeah, not public, they're private, but still.
Okay.
And everybody knew that I was Jewish in my school because me and my brother, we were the only Jewish kids in the school, and we suffered from anti-Semitism as well.
Wow. Your family name?
It's Treistman. It's my first family name.
That's already Jewish enough.
Yeah, that's very Jewishy.
And what's the other one?
Pixenmeister.
Pixenmeister.
Yeah, that's from Austria.
That's your Austrian name.
Yes. And I never hide it. Like I was never embarrassed or anything about being Jewish. I didn't understand like why people don't like Jewish people. Like kids, they would do Hi Hitler every time I would go to a class, and they would call me names, and I didn't react because I didn't understand why. And a few months passed, and I decided that I wanted to visit Israel. I wanted to know the places and know Jerusalem and go to go to the Dead Sea and to be a tourist, to come to Israel and visit. That was my plan.
And you were how old?
I was 15 at the time.
All right. 5 years ago.
Yeah. And I came here to Israel to spend a month. And I always tell this to people that ask me, like, how did I feel when I got to Israel? And I remember being on the plane alone because I traveled alone and just seeing Tel Aviv. You
were a minor that traveled alone to Israel.
I like to do things by myself.
Okay. But your parents had to sign some paperwork.
No, they did my passports. Like with there's something in the passport of your children that you can put that they can travel by themselves or not.
Somebody's helping you with the flight attendants and stuff like that.
No, just like normal person.
All right. Okay. Perfect. And so you're arriving in Israel and there's a connection.
I just felt like home. Like I can't explain it. Actually, I just felt like I was in the right place and that I was filled up. Like something was missing. And then I got here.
A missing piece was there. Yes.
And it wasn't missing anymore. Like I remember getting into Ben Gurion and I was just amazed and filled by love, and I felt all this energy, like I'm actually in the place that I'm supposed to be. I don't know how to explain that. It's crazy.
I mean, I can explain that.
Yeah.
I'm Israeli, but I can say Jewish people belong to this place.
Yes.
And when they're not in this place, they will forever lack that peace. And you found that peace
When I came
upon
here.
arrival. Exactly.
Yes.
Okay, go on.
And I remember like the first things that I liked about Israel was first of all the security, because I lived in São Paulo, and as a woman it's quite hard to go and walk around by yourself. You can walk around like with your phone or anything outside. Like you have to keep your things to a minimum that you bring on the street.
Mhm.
And I suffer from a lot of sexual harassment being a woman in
Really?
Brazil.
Wow.
Everywhere that happens a lot. And when I got to Israel, I remember I was shocked that I could just like walk around with shorts at night with my phone. I was like, that was the most crazy thought.
So you're not mugged and the
No,
phone
I
is
was like,
and you're not harassed.
can I get out? Like, can I do things? And I felt very free here. And I felt like, I don't know, Brazilians, they're very warm and happy people. And I love Brazilians. Of course, I'm from there. But there's something about the honesty in Israelis that I like a lot. Like people go straight to the point. They don't play around. They don't tell you they're someone and they're not usually. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like they
Trust me, I do.
yeah, it's like you want something, you get
Yes.
it. You don't have an option on how to do something. If you don't have an opening with a door, you're going to find a window, and if there's no window, you're going to the roof.
Yes.
Like you always find another way to solve your problems, and that's something that Israeli people know how to do very well. And
Proactive, innovative.
yeah,
Yeah.
like all of this came together, and together with the Brazilian culture, it made me feel very, very confident,
Mm.
like feeling actually like myself.
So you
here.
felt safe, secured, and you felt a sense of belonging.
Yes,
Not just
exactly.
safe, because you can be safe in other places around the world.
Yeah, I can go to Switzerland and be
Exactly.
safe.
But you felt this is your place. That's
Yeah.
the missing part.
Exactly. And of course, I went around and went to the Dead Sea and fell in love with Jerusalem and the Kotel, of course.
The Western Wall.
Yeah. And then I came back to Brazil a month after because I was supposed to be here only a month just to travel and to see the place. And when I got back to Brazil, I just felt that something missing again. Like I was living all my life inside of a very small box. And then I came to Israel and I saw the world, and that they wanted to. And when I came back, I felt like they wanted to put me back into the box. So I couldn't live there anymore. Like it didn't feel good anymore. So I started looking for programs and to other things that I could do, maybe to come to Israel, because I could wait until I was 18 to do Aliyah, but I didn't want to wait. So
Aliyah is to immigrate.
yeah, to immigrate to Israel when you're 18 or older. And I didn't want to wait. So I found this program, Nale, of course, with the help of a few people that were around me, friends that know friends. My cousin actually made the same program.
So it's a program that allows young Jews from around the world to actually make Aliyah, to
Yes.
officially, legally immigrate to Israel by themselves.
You're not actually making Aliyah, because when you get here with Nale, you're under a visa, student visa.
Okay.
So you have to wait until you finish high school. It's a program that takes a lot of teenagers and young people from all around the world. And we live here in campuses where they teach us Hebrew, Ulpan, which is like the Hebrew classes.
Your Hebrew is phenomenal.
Thank you.
Wow.
It was a very hard job learning Hebrew.
Yeah, because sometimes I know people that they live here for 20, 30 years and they don't have Hebrew like that.
Yeah, but I made an effort.
Yes.
I made an effort to learn.
Perfect.
And they teach us a lot about culture. Nale, they take us to all sorts of places in Israel so that we know the places. Like they tell us historically meanings of new places. Everything that you need to start your life in Israel, they give it to you. Even talking with soldiers and talking about the army and explanations about that and everything. You have like a support system here in Israel.
Which prepares you for your future in Israel.
Yeah, exactly. So I lived in this campus in Even Yehuda, which is a city close to Netanya. And I lived there with a lot of people from Latin America, a lot of people from Spain and Mexico and Brazil and Argentina and Peru, Uruguay, and everything that you want.
Because a lot of thriving Jewish communities in those countries.
Yeah. In Brazil,
Yeah.
there are huge Jewish communities, even in São Paulo. I think
Yes.
the biggest Jewish community in Brazil, if I'm not mistaken, is
São Paulo.
in São Paulo.
Mhm.
And there I learned some Spanish as well. And then after I
So
finished
you had
my
to come all the way to Israel to learn Spanish.
Yeah. No, I knew a little bit of
Yeah,
Spanish before.
obviously.
But here I learned it better. And after I finished my high school, because I was supposed to finish my high school before, but because I came to Israel, I had to go back a year and a half in school. So I could learn Hebrew because I couldn't do baguriot. How do you
Yes.
explain baguriot?
These are SATs. It's the
Yeah,
it's the,
sort of.
high school diploma
Yeah.
test. Yes.
So I had to learn Hebrew and I had to go back a year and a half in school. And afterwards, I was supposed to get into the army.
Mm.
I was looking forward to it. I really wanted to get into the army. And before that, I wanted to travel to Brazil just to spend like a month or two with my family because I didn't know how the army would work, like how much time would I have to travel and see my family and friends. So I went there, and when I came back, a few like a month or two after I came back from Brazil from traveling,
What month was it?
it was
So in 2023,
yeah, I
you
came
came
back
back
in
in August of 23, and of course we all know what
Yeah.
happened a couple months later.
Yeah, in August.
So
in August.
and something happened in those couple months between your return back from Brazil and the Nova Festival, music festival, and that you met someone.
Yes, I met
Different
Hanani.
party.
Yes,
You met Hanani. Hanani is also a Jewish Brazilian,
Hanani is not Jewish.
not Jewish.
His father's family, they are Jewish, but his
So he
mother
is
is not Jewish.
Let me just explain something. Biblically, Hanani is Jewish because it was always after the father in the Bible.
In the Bible, yeah.
Yes. Otherwise, King David is not Jewish also.
No, but he didn't feel Jewish. He didn't.
But he had but what was he doing in Israel?
He came here to be closer to his father, but he wasn't Jewish and he didn't believe in Judaism.
Okay. And when Hanani, it's by the way, it's a pretty Jewish name, by the way.
Yeah, I know.
And Hanani and you met in a gathering, party, whatever, and that's him. In fact, we're looking at
Yes.
you and Hanani. You're having a Brazilian flag around you.
Actually, yeah.
And Hanani was a gifted musician.
He was an artist, and ever since there is. We met at a party in Netanya, a party with Latin music and Spanish. It was a close party from one of his friends, Kesem.
Mhm.
And I always tell that I saw him like a little bit further from me. I was with my friends, my girlfriends, and then I saw Hanani smiling at me, and I just
Melted.
melted. No, like actually my world stopped. Like
Really?
actually look at the smile. Like I couldn't.
And Hanani is basically your boyfriend
Yes.
for those 2 months.
Yes, we met, and of course I didn't only fell in love with him, but I fell in love with the person that he was. He was like a bomb of light everywhere he went. He was an artist in every way. He would write and he would sing and he would play the guitar
And you even wrote a song and
Yeah,
you sang together.
we
I
did.
think we have a video of you guys trying to sing the song that
Yes, we
you
were
and
practicing.
him wrote. Yeah, there you go. So that's
This is a song that actually we put Spanish, Portuguese, and English together in one
really
song.
wow.
And we were super in love and we had a lot of fun together. And he was the kind of person that never leave anyone feeling outside. He would always worry, he would always help. He didn't need much to be happy. He just knew how to live life correctly. Like he didn't care about all the things that hold us in the physical
Yeah.
world. You know what I mean?
He wasn't a materialistic person.
No, at all.
Was he spiritual?
Yes.
Did he believe in God or
He believed in God in a different way. I don't know how to quite explain his religion, so I don't want to say wrong things.
So, Rafaela, 2 months before the Nova Music Festival, you meet with Hanani, and now you're a couple, and he tells you about it a month before.
Yeah.
and he told you that this is basically a version
Of another rave that happens in Brazil. So the people that are a part of the trance music community that hear this type of music for all their lives, they knew about the Nova Festival months before. And that's why there were so many colorful people in the Nova Festival. There were families with children. There were people from outside of Israel, tourists, immigrants, people from Brazil and Argentina and the US and everything. Like all kinds of people were celebrating in one space.
And what was it that they celebrated? I mean, because a lot of people
Love.
connect it with peace,
Love.
Love.
And peace.
love and peace.
Actually.
But it wasn't a political thing.
No. Let me paint you the image of the party.
Yeah.
I got there. That was my first rave. I never been to a party like that before.
When you say rave, you mean nature party?
Yeah.
Something like that?
Yes.
Which is outdoors.
It's
all
a party
night?
outdoor. It's not like going to a bar or going to a party in the center of your city. It's a place like if you go to an open space,
Yes.
even in a forest, maybe in the beach.
Okay.
It happens in
And
a lot of
that's what
places.
you call a rave.
Yeah.
Okay.
I got inside. The first thing that I saw was all the tents. A lot of people bringing tents and lights and things to hang up and chairs and food and water. And then I saw children running and I saw parents with their children and babies with headphones because the music is loud. And then I looked to the other side and then I see artists painting neon live so people could see. And then I saw 3 stages and with artists from all around the world. And I heard a lot of languages and people that work with everything, like people that are doctors, soldiers, normal people.
That's your first rave. You feel amazing. You arrive there with the Hanani,
And Rafael, another friend.
another friend.
We got to the party at the 6th of October at 11 p.m., way early.
That's considered early?
Yeah.
11 p.m.?
Yeah,
All
that's
right,
early.
okay.
Because the party was supposed to go until 3 or 4 in the afternoon. So it was quite early. We got there. We didn't have a car to go. We couldn't figure out a way to rent a car. I couldn't ask for anyone. It didn't work. Every way that we tried to go there, even riding with someone, it didn't work. So what me and Hanani did was that we got on a bus to Beersheba, which is a city between Tel Aviv and the south, for the people that don't know. And in Beersheba, Hanani had a friend that could take us and give us a ride to the party.
Okay.
So we got there and we met Rafael, which was another friend of Hanani's,
Also Brazilian?
also Brazilian.
Okay.
And the 3 of us, we made an amazing day. We made a McDonald's picnic in the middle of.
Do we have photos from that day that they were on their
I
way?
think there's only a video of us in the bus.
Okay.
I think so.
A video
I'm
of
not
you
sure.
on the bus
With
on the
Hanani.
way with Hanani on the way.
Yeah, on the way.
Okay,
to
so that's
This is the video. And actually, what he's saying here is that we're still alive and with serotonin in our bodies, and we'll come back from the party all dead.
Oh,
That's actually his words.
wow. But he meant dead.
Yeah,
and
dead and
exhausted.
tired.
Okay,
Of course.
and that's the bus ride on October 6th,
Yeah,
the day before. That's the bus ride from
from Ramat Gan.
Ramat Gan to Beersheba.
Yes.
Okay, that's
And we got there, we met Rafa, we made a very fun day. We did a McDonald's picnic, and then we went to Rodrigo's house, which is a friend of Hanani's, that he lived there. There we played music, and we laughed, and we talked, and we tried to convince Rodrigo to come with us to the party, but he didn't want to because it was very expensive for him at the time. And so he gave us a ride, and we got into the Nova side, and that's where I saw all the things that I already explained to you.
and you were looking forward to it.
I was very excited to
and
go.
you were excited, and you got there at 11 p.m. and you had some fun there. You danced.
I mean, the first thing that we did was in the line to get into the party, we heard Portuguese, and we didn't have any tents or chairs or anything with us, just small backpacks. So Hanani heard Portuguese and he was like, "Hey guys, are you Brazilian?" They're like, yeah, we're Brazilian, of course. Can we join you? We don't have anything. And then they were like, yeah, of course, come. Because that's what raves are about. You treat people that you never saw in your life
Yeah.
like your brothers. That's the beauty of it.
Yeah. So you feel welcome. You have friends
Yes.
around you. And do we have anything from the dancing that
I
night?
think I have one video of Hanani in the beginning of the party playing with the dapo. Yes.
Okay. So that's trance
That's-
music.
Yeah, that's a type. That's one type of it. There are a lot of
Different.
different sorts of.
So that's the at the Nova Music Festival site.
And people playing around like children. Like you come and you bring toys and you bring.
Can I safely say that we're at October 7 already here?
Yes.
That's like 1 or 2 a.m.
No, this is at 12:30, 1 a.m.
So, but we're October 7th.
Yeah, this is October 7th.
October 7th. And did you feel anything wrong before or during the festival prior to the actual terrorist attack? I'm talking about, do you see any signs?
There were a lot of signs in the week before, but we didn't know how to listen to them.
Like what?
First of all, I got very sick. I had an infection in my teeth, something that never happened, and I had to go to an emergency doctor, and they put anesthetic, and I had to spend like 3 days at home taking antibiotics, and I thought that I couldn't go. Then we couldn't rent a car. We couldn't find a car to go. We couldn't find a friend to ride, and we had like Hanani had friends that were going, and we couldn't find a way to get there. Then then I tried to cancel my tickets to the party at I think it was a Wednesday, and the party was supposed to be Friday, Saturday. And I sent them an email saying that I needed to cancel my tickets and Hanani's because we couldn't find a way to go. And then they responded to us saying that it was too late.
You will not be reimbursed.
Yes. And then I said 400 shekels to a party, and we're going. And
400 shekels.
Yeah.
That's more than $100.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then at the day of the party, it was very weird because we were in Hanani's house. He lived with other 3 boys. And Kesem, one of his friends, we went to say to him goodbye, and we gave him a hug. And I felt very weird. And then I talked to Kesem about it after everything that happened, and he felt the same thing. Like I didn't say goodbye to him as I should. Like I didn't really say goodbye. I just gave him a small hug, which is actually what you would do normally, but it felt wrong. And at the party, I didn't feel anything wrong. I was just having fun.
So nobody felt, as far as you're concerned, and people you were with, nobody felt unsafe.
No, there were a few people that maybe asked like why the party was close to Gaza. And I asked myself the same thing because I'm not from Israel, but I thought to myself, people live here.
So it's
they raise children
what is
here.
It 3 miles away from Gaza?
It's
Something
5 kilometers.
Yeah.
I don't know how to say it
miles.
in miles.
It's 3 miles away from the border with Gaza.
But I didn't see any problem with it because there are actually families that live there on the border. So I was like, okay. And there were other festivals that happened in the same place of Nova. Even Hanani was in one of those festivals. So it was like, no, I've been here before. It's okay. And I was like,
what I understood, there was at the same very evening another private
yes, there was a
private party.
Yeah.
That the people knew about it only hours before where it is. Because it's private.
So what I mean by knowing about the party, it's like knowing that a party like that will happen. But the location, I also got like 2 hours before the festival.
Okay, got it.
Something like that.
Okay, so it's not just one festival. There's another party going on there, and nobody feels anything wrong because obviously you're not in the military. You don't know. You just come to a party.
No, but there were people. There were soldiers that they came to the party, and
so you're saying, you felt even safer knowing that part of the people that come to celebrate here are actually
they know what they're
soldiers,
doing.
And if they knew something is wrong, they wouldn't have come.
Yeah.
So you guys are having fun and dancing, and then all hell breaks loose.
So we were dancing a lot, having a lot of fun. Me and Hanani were laughing all like crazy, crying of laughter, and I don't even remember about what. And seeing a lot of people and knowing new people and colorful, like very colorful people. I don't know how to explain that. Like very live people, very happy, very.
So the last thing you can say about the people of the Nova party is that
magical, like
that they you cannot say they were mean and they deserve to die. What I'm trying to say,
there's
they
not.
didn't do anything wrong to anyone.
No, actually, I think that the people that were killed in the 7th of October from the kibbutzim and from the party,
Yeah.
they were the most enlightened people that I've ever saw. People that actually,
Peace loving.
yes.
And they actually, if anything, these are people that want the Palestinians to live in peace and have.
These are the people that don't want any war.
Correct.
That's sad.
In a way, they were a bit delusional because they didn't know what the other side is planning.
Yeah, we were maybe innocent.
Naive.
Naive,
Naive.
actually. Yes.
We're going through the party and
That was all night.
all night.
Then the sunrise started to come. And I can't explain it better than to just say to you that we were actually taking the energy from the sun coming, and as the sun went up, our energy went up in the same level, and suddenly you can see all the faces that you're having fun
'Cause it was
with
dark
already.
before.
Yes, and then you can see the nature and the sun between the trees, and everything is way more beautiful. And we were at the peak of the party, making the most fun that I had in a long time in all my life. It was like the most beautiful thing I've ever saw. And I remember looking around and seeing people smiling from ear to ear and hugging their friends, and the music stopped.
And the music abruptly stopped.
Stopped. And then the first reaction of the people was to scream, not to scream angrily, but like, what's going on? No, come back. Like it was a technical problem.
Mm.
Then we looked back and we saw a lot of rockets coming from Gaza.
Okay.
And
So
then they
you knew something is wrong.
not quite.
I mean, did you connect the dots? Like the music must have stopped because of the rockets?
Yes, that's
Okay.
that. Yes,
All right.
but we thought it was only rockets. It happens in Israel. Like it's funny to say only rockets.
It's
but
only
we're-
rockets.
But we're used to that in Israel.
Yeah.
You know, if we see rockets, we go to a shelter and everything's
and
fine.
so rockets by nature will not hit 2.5 miles away. They will pass over you.
No, I actually kind of got
Did you
worried.
hear falls of rockets also, or just the rockets flying?
I was very confused. The music stopped and I saw the rockets and I was hearing explosions, but I thought that was the Iron Dome. And then I thought we're very close to Gaza and I'm scared that the rocket, maybe the Iron Dome won't work, or maybe one will fall. And
Mm-mm.
I looked around and there was just us and trees, so we weren't protected.
Obviously.
So me and Hanani, we started going around. He grabbed my hand and we started searching for a better place to hide. We stopped in one of the big tents that were in the party. And then we looked at each other and we were like, okay, the rockets are not stopping. We're hearing Tseva Adom, which is red alert.
Red alert.
And we said, okay, let's get out of the party and let's find a shelter. We went to our tent, grabbed our backpacks. Rafa met us there. And we started leaving the party, running outside of the party. And we got to the 232 road, which nowadays is known as the Death Road. And so you can understand how not worried we were. We were talking about the sunrise, saying, wow, that's such a beautiful sunrise.
You were still excited about the party.
Yeah. And we
And-
were saying, no, just in Israel, a party can end up in rockets, and laughing about
And
it.
you're still laughing and you're still smiling and positive. There
Look,
you go.
We're like, I can't even explain what's happened here.
So who's
He's like, look at the sunrise. He's like, I can't believe the party's over right
so
now.
this is after the rockets were already flying.
Yeah, I can't even see the rockets in this video. It wasn't too intense until this point, because this was still before 7 a.m.
Yes, and you're just innocently trying to just find a safe place. Now, I saw the interceptions.
Yeah, there are a few interceptions that you can see in the video.
You know, you're still there, positively thinking
Yeah.
things would just be fine.
No, just okay, we're worried. It's kind of stressful, but we'll find a road shelter, and that's fine, because in the south you have at every bus station there's a road shelter, which is kind of this block of cement.
It's a concrete block that is basically serving like a room, safe room, where you can run into, and no pieces of the rockets can fall and hurt you, basically.
Exactly.
And it'll also protect you from the explosion itself.
Exactly.
And so here you
So
are.
we got there, the three of us.
So you're sitting in a bomb
We're
shelter
sitting in a bomb shelter, smoking, as you can see,
and smiling.
and smiling, of course.
Look at you. And this is This is when that safe room is still pretty empty.
Yeah. We were the first ones to get inside.
Hmm.
And then, like 5 minutes in, we saw like maybe 4 to 5 more people that got inside. Then a few minutes passed, and then the shelter became very full. We became 40 people at a very small confined
40
space.
people
40
crammed in a tiny room, and you were in the corner,
Yeah, we were very to the end of the shelter, as you can see, and
Which
I
is-
stayed in that position.
which is exactly why you're with us today.
Yes.
And so you were right behind everybody
Yes.
because the entrance is on the other side.
Yeah.
So 40 people, and I guess by then you're not that smiling anymore.
No. When we became 40 people inside of the shelter, we started to freak out because it was very, very small and very claustrophobic.
And what about the noises from the outside?
We were still hearing only rockets.
Only rockets.
When we got inside of the shelter, it was 6:50 in the morning. So nothing was
So
happening still.
it's a 20 minutes after it all started.
Yeah.
And so obviously the Nukhba terrorists that were driving their pickup trucks and motorcycles and all that are not there yet.
No, they're on their way.
They're on their way. And then as many people as crammed into it.
And I felt very bad. When I was inside of the shelter, I felt like something was really wrong. But I thought that the feeling was about the people that were inside. Like I just thought that I was feeling that bad because I was in a very confined space. And they wanted to leave, but everybody was saying like, guys, we know this is very hard and we all want to get out of here, but let's just hold on for a few more minutes because the Tseva Dom red alert will stop and we'll be able to get out. So I was just like trying to, okay, I'll stay here.
Stay here for a few more minutes.
Yeah.
That's every time you convince
Just
yourself.
like, just a few more minutes.
Few
Just a few more
minutes.
minutes. I'll get out of here soon.
So just so people understand, it's a tiny box made of concrete where the few of you are in, then it's getting fuller and fuller. And by the time it's packed with 40 people, you are not feeling well. And you can tell that it's not going to end up too soon because it's just non-stop rockets.
Yeah. Because we say, okay, a few more minutes. And the rockets, they don't stop.
Yeah.
And it usually, the alarms, the sirens, they stay on for few seconds even.
You know, I think from what I heard, and correct me if I'm wrong, there were more than 500 rockets.
More?
No, I mean within the first 2 hours.
Yes.
So that's insane. That's so you're, you know, we're now on the timeline. It's 8 and then 9 o'clock.
No, it was earlier.
Earlier.
This is like, we were fine until like 7:20.
So you're saying you're there for
Maximum.
30 minutes. And
30, 40, maybe something like that.
And it's already becoming life-threatening.
Because I thought that sirens would stop and they didn't. And then
So when is it that you heard of the actual
when we
terrorists?
heard there was a problem, it was already too late.
I know, but my point is, did you hear that?
I heard gunshots, a lot of gunshots. At the very beginning, when the gunshots only started, Hanani did something that was quite smart because he wanted to calm me down. His priority was to just calm me down
Yes.
and to protect. So he put my AirPods on my ears and he told me to put on noise cancellation and to hear any song, anything at top volume.
Mm.
And he did the same. So at the very beginning of the gunshots, because we couldn't leave, we couldn't get out because of the people. We couldn't move there.
You were basically stuck in the
Yeah,
very
and the
back.
people were hearing the gunshots. They were coming closer to the back, so we couldn't move whatsoever. And he saw that situation, and he understood we couldn't move, we couldn't leave, we couldn't do anything. So chill. And I started hearing music. Of course, the gunshots, they became more intense. And we started hearing a police officer from the outside of the shelter. She was screaming at her radio. She was saying, "We need reinforcements. They're terrorists, Hamas terrorists, Tseva Dom," and screaming and screaming and screaming. And suddenly, I couldn't hear her voice anymore, and I heard a lot of gunshots. So we understood that they killed her. They're outside. After they murdered her from the outside of the shelter, they threw inside the first gas grenade that they threw.
Gas.
Gas, the first one.
Mm.
In less than 1 minute, we couldn't breathe whatsoever. It was a very, very small space to be with that amount of gas.
Anyway, with 40 people, it's hard to breathe anyway.
Yeah.
And now it's gas. What is it?
No,
Okay.
gas.
Just gas.
So
they brought it with
carbon gas.
They brought it with them.
Yeah. My first thought was, oh my God, we're Jewish in a very small space and gas. So the first thing that came... Holocaust. I thought, okay, I'm dying as a Jewish in the Holocaust. Because in the same year I was in Poland. And after the first grenade, they started throwing other grenades. So gas grenades, strapple grenades, hand grenades, the normal ones.
It's a stunt.
Stunt grenades, Molotov cocktails. And they started getting inside of the shelter themselves and started shooting people around. And then people started falling because they started dying. And the people that tried to run outside, they were shot or kidnapped. And
some people from your shelter were kidnapped?
One guy from my shelter, he was kidnapped. He was very next to me, actually. I'll get to that. And they started doing like this cycles of throwing a lot of grenades, waiting for the gas to come down, and then they would get in themselves and start like on people and started shooting randomly at all places.
Executing you, basically.
Yeah. And I was seeing them, but they couldn't see me because I was under a lot of people. And in the middle of all that panic and blood and people getting very injured because grenades.
And where is Hanani? Next to you?
He's next to me, putting his body on me, hugging me. And I'm like, what is going on? Yeah. I was saying to him, like, what is going on? What is going on? And he was like, we're in a terrorist attack and we're in a war and take care of the water and I don't know what. And I was like, I want to go home. I was in my house like a few hours ago. What is happening? He's like, we're in terror. I want to go home. I couldn't make sense of anything. And meanwhile, Rafa was on the both of us and he was praying in Portuguese with all of his power. And at some point in the middle of the mass shootings and explosions and everything, a woman fell on me. She was literally on me. And I couldn't move a millimeter. I couldn't move at all. I couldn't breathe at all. And I thought that in that point, I would die. I thought that was the point that I would die. So I started, the only thing I could do was try to say to Hanani and Rafa to try to help me get her off me. But imagine, 40 people panicked, coming more to the inside of the shelter because of all the gunshots.
More and more.
Dead people falling, people bleeding, blood everywhere. And this girl, she was hysterical. She was panicked. She was screaming and throwing herself down and biting. She bit Rafa in the side of his chest. It still has the mark until today. And Hanani, that was calm until then, very calm compared to the situation. He started to lose it because they were trying to pull her off me and she didn't want to move. She was strong. She was panicked. She wasn't with us. She wasn't understanding what we were saying.
So now your big struggle is actually not the terrorist as much as someone who is actually blocking you from even moving and breathing.
Yeah. And then Hanani started to scream at her and say like, just let me take you off of her. And then everything. He started to get mad. She wasn't in a stage that she could listen. She couldn't. And so Hanani understood that even if we were inside or outside, we would die. And I think he didn't want to die with the feeling that he didn't do anything. I don't know if that was because he was a soldier. I don't know if he was too...
He was in the Israeli army?
Yeah, he was a Golani soldier.
Okay.
It's a combat soldier.
Infantry soldier, okay.
And... I don't know if he just wanted to try and escape or try to do something. He just told me that he needed to do something. He told me, I know my time has come. I have to try and do something. And he started to try and get out. He started trying to push people and get on people and get outside. And from that, I didn't see him anymore. And I was still in the floor. And Rafa said that he saw him or getting shot or something that got onto him that made him scream and fall down. I didn't see him until that point. And I didn't understand if he was alive, he wasn't alive, and everything was very dark because after some time they started also burning a few of the bodies outside of the shelter. So they took
the terrorists.
Yeah, they took a few of the dead bodies or alive still. It was too much screaming for me to understand if the people that were burning outside they were alive or dead.
And how did they burn them? Just put gas on the gasoline, or
I think gasoline or something.
they burned them?
Yeah, they burned them outside, and all that smoke was coming inside of the shelter as well. So it got to a point that people started arguing about opening a door that doesn't exist because there isn't doors in road shelter. But they started arguing like to open a door because it was too dark. We couldn't see anything anymore. And I was for
And it's daylight, yet you see nothing because
of the gas and the
gas,
smoke.
the smoke, and too many people.
Yeah, and
It's like a scene from a horror movie.
I can I
It's
there
hell.
aren't movies that put those things into.
So you were in a situation that even the worst horror movies cannot even depict.
Can't even begin to explain what we went through there. And I spent 5 hours inside of the shelter.
5 hours. 5 hours from 7 to 12.
To 12, yeah.
Wow.
And I was passing out and waking up. I would pass out, wake up, and the first thing that I would think was Hanani. And I started to scream and ask for him and wait for an answer. He didn't answer. Started talking to dead bodies next to me that I couldn't see, as if it was him. And it's...
Yeah.
And after those 5 hours that I was in there, I couldn't see Rafa anymore.
Rafa also was gone.
I didn't see him. I would ask him from time to time, like, are you alive still? He was like, yeah, or doing some noise. And I was just trying to not lose it. I knew that I would die. I accepted that. I couldn't talk to my phone, to anyone, because my hands were filled with blood and other liquids that bodies let out. And I couldn't touch my phone. Like, the touch didn't work. So I couldn't answer anyone.
Did people look for you? I mean,
they tried to call me. My phone was ringing all the time.
By that time, anyone in Brazil knew about it?
Yeah. I talked to my friends afterwards. They knew I was in the party because I posted it. This video that I showed you with Hanani and his Napo,
it was
I posted it.
A story on Instagram or something. So they knew.
And I put the location Gaza City.
Wow.
And after all the time, I was seeing they kidnapped a guy that was next to me. His name is Omer. He's still in Gaza.
And so one is kidnapped, but how many people died in that shelter?
Out of the 40, 30. And 10 survived.
30 people died.
Yeah. After all the time, I saw...
30 people were murdered.
Yeah, they were murdered in very cold blood. And I mean cold blood because at the time that I was... And I want to explain the picture because I think it's important to people. Imagine me in a corner under gas, blood, liquids, and whatever. People screaming and praying for their lives. People without dismembered. People that you can't even recognize them anymore because they're exploded. And everything is going on. All of those people are crying, screaming, and dying. And the terrorists that are shooting...
They're laughing. That's the one thing I keep hearing.
They were laughing.
It's a glee. It's a joy.
But they weren't laughing like softly. They were laughing.
It really
made them
proud, satisfied. It almost like this is what we were born for.
Yeah.
Almost, it's like the highlight of their life, basically. By the way, when we interviewed or interrogated some of the captured terrorists, that's what they said. They basically said, this is the best moment of our lives. I mean, we've been waiting and praying and hoping and dreaming of the day we can actually, because all their lives they were taught to kill Jews and to murder Jews and now they got a chance to do it.
And that was super amazing for them. And that's why I always say that I didn't feel scared from the terrorists. I felt disgusted. Because I'm a person that I feel others. I feel other people's energy. And that what makes me connect or not connect with someone Like I can read people very easily. And when I saw and heard that, I just I just desperately wanted to pull them away. But not because they were killing me, but because I wanted them to go away. To
Because
go.
it was disgusting.
It was too disgusting.
And people don't understand that this is what they were brought up like.
That's what
And
they were
this is
born
it.
to do.
That and you know, every time people tell me there's just terrorists, but the rest of the people of Gaza, they're all innocent people, and
It's
you're
not true.
killing. I keep telling them, you don't understand. what
It
you're
wasn't
saying.
Hamas terrorists. There were people dressed as civilians.
Civilians. So,
It wasn't terror. Unfortunately, the people that are living in Gaza, they learn from the moment they are born that to kill Jews is good because they
it's
don't have
actually
any
a commandment. It's almost like
Yes.
you have to.
Yes.
And so here you are. It's been 5 hours since it all started. This whole mayhem, this whole nightmare during the day started. What happens at around 12 noon? Who came to help you?
I saw a guy coming inside of the shelter, screaming, taking someone, and getting outside. He was dressed all in black. And as you know, Israelis, they quite look like Arabs at sometimes. So I thought he was a terrorist. And I can't hear well until today because of the explosions. So then I could hear even less. And that my mother's language is Portuguese. So a guy screaming in Hebrew didn't make sense to me at that point. And he was getting inside and screaming and getting outside again and grabbing someone. And every time he had someone different. And I started to try and pay attention to what he wanted. And he was screaming in Hebrew, Mi adain b'chaim, mi chai adain.
So who's still alive?
Who's still alive? Give me a sign of life. And he was screaming names. One of them, Noam, his girlfriend, she was killed there as well. And one of his best friends, the other friend, he came out alive. The guy that was coming inside and outside, his name is Daniel. He was one of the people inside of the shelter. And a few minutes before the terrorists arrived, he got outside to pee in the middle of the trees.
So they didn't.
And when they arrived straight to the shelter, he just stayed outside. They shot at his direction and they killed people around him, but he was laying on the floor and somehow they didn't get to him. And after all this time, he saw a car with police officers, 5 to 6 police officers. And he asked them to come. First of all, they thought he was a terrorist.
Yes.
He had to convince them that he wasn't. Then they got to the shelter and they say they didn't have time to help anyone because they were in the middle of the battle. Then they saw everything and they said everybody here is dead. That's how it looked. And then they couldn't breathe inside of the shelter. So they didn't have time. They were stressed and they didn't want to stop. So Daniel had to convince them to help us. And he started taking people outside. And when I understood what he was saying, I somehow just got up and I told him the only thing I said to him was, "Bevakasha totzi oti mipo, just take me out of here." And he told me to come because there were a lot of bodies, so it was easier for me to come to him than he to come to me. And I started looking in the floor and started searching for Hanani. So I started seeing like how people looked. I started to analyze each and every one because I wanted to find him. And I started seeing the phones of the people ringing with mom, dad, brother, sister, babe calling. And I was thinking to myself, like, they're calling their families and I can't even tell you how they look because they're exploded. They're covered in blood. I can't explain. And I started to get outside. And you can call me crazy, you can say it's God, you can say whatever, but I heard a voice, a very clear voice, very calm in my ear, which doesn't make sense because I couldn't hear them.
You know, I believe and I will tell you that it is God because
I do believe it's God as well.
more than once it happened to me, but go ahead.
And I just heard him saying like, don't step on people's heads. So I tried not to. I got outside. I saw Hanani laying on the floor. I can't tell you if he was actually shot or if the blood that was on him was from other people. I didn't
But he
stop
was
to
dead.
analyze.
You saw him and you
I
knew
saw
he's
him
dead?
I saw him laying down with his belly down, and I didn't want to understand that was him. And I'll tell you something that my brain did for me to not to process that was him. Hanani was shirtless with white shorts, and I had beige pants with a white top. And I told myself, he looks cleaner with his pants than I do, so they can't be him. Like my brain just
Yeah.
made something up, so I couldn't understand that was him. I got outside. Daniel put me to the back of the shelter. I saw the bodies. He just took me away from there. I got to the back of the shelter and I see Raphael laying on the floor. I didn't see him getting out, but I saw him outside. And he was looking at himself, trying to analyze if he has been hurt. And he was thanking God, just, how am I alive? Thank you, thank you, thank you. And while he was thanking God, the only thing I could get out of my mouth was, Hanani died. He's dead. He's dead. He's dead. He's dead. Hanani died. And I was waiting for him to somehow disagree with me and tell me I was wrong, but he didn't. And I couldn't move. I couldn't breathe even outside. I couldn't breathe because I couldn't understand that he was here and then he's not. It didn't make sense to me.
Death is something that it's hard for the humans to process.
And I couldn't make sense of it. And I was next to Rafa. And then I saw this broken car, which was shot several times next to the shelter close by. And the police officers or Daniel, I don't remember who was the one that did it, but they broke the back of the car because inside there was a small fridge with water and juice and fruits. And I just remember getting like this huge bottle of cold water and receiving. Daniel went around with the people that were outside and he was giving melon to everyone, like putting melon in people's mouths, a little bit of sugar. And I remember like taking the first sip of water and all the cold inside. And then I asked Rafa to throw a little bit of the water in my face so I could wake up. And then the police officers, they started to group us and tell us that we had to go out of there. And they wanted to put us in their cars, the cars with big trunks. And they didn't want to leave. I told the police officer that I wasn't going anywhere without my boyfriend. I said, no, I need my boyfriend. You don't understand. He's here somewhere. You just need to find him because I can't find him. Even though I saw him in there. Yeah. And he was like, I'll get to your boyfriend afterwards. You have to come now. I'm like, I'm not going now. After arguing with me, he just grabbed me and put me inside of the car. I remember my stepfather called and I just gave the police officer to explain to him where we were going. I was sending SOS messages to my stepfather all this time because
Where is he? In Brazil?
No, he's here in Israel.
Your stepfather lives in Israel. Okay.
Yeah. And he's my emergency contact. And you don't have to type anything to send your location if you have an emergency contact. You just click the side button a lot of times and it starts sending automatically. So he knew where I was. And we started going, and the police officers, they told us that they were taking us to Ofakim, which is a city in the south, to a military base. In the middle of 5 to 10 minutes after we started traveling with them, we had to stop the car again because there were other terrorists on the street, and we had to lay down under this truck that was further away in the sand. We stayed there for about an hour, and then they got us back into the cars. And they took us to Ofakim. There was the first time that I saw soldiers.
Because Ofakim also had an invasion of terrorists.
Yes. We were in the military base.
Okay.
And from there, ambulances got us to Beersheba, to Soroka, which is a huge hospital. Just when I got to Soroka, I understood that I wasn't in a terrorist attack. I was in a war. Because I was seeing people running and screaming and messes and dead people and families going around with pictures desperately looking for their loved ones and people dismembered and a huge mess. A lot of people very injured. And I was seeing like people's faces looking at the survivors, and I didn't understand how I looked so that they looked at me that way. Like sort of a pity, panicked, I don't know.
And
And-
how did you have blood on you and stuff like that?
I was all covered in blood.
Covered in blood. Okay, but
And smoke.
were you injured yourself, or it was just other people's blood?
Okay, so the irony from the shelter is that all the 30 that were killed, they were very, very severely injured. And the people that got out alive,
Nothing.
not even a bullet.
Nothing.
Because we were under all
Exactly.
the other people. Of course, I had some strapples. I couldn't open my eyes for a month because of the gas, my ears, but nothing too serious.
Mm.
And I was laying there. Rafa was next to me. At some point, they took him somewhere else. I didn't see him. And when I would ask the doctors, they didn't know who I was talking about because it was a mess.
Chaos. Yes.
Chaos. Completely chaos.
Mm.
And after 3-4 hours, I saw this doctor talking to my mom. And he was like, I saw you looking for your daughter all around and I found her for you. This is Rafaela. He opens the curtain. She looks at me. And she started arguing with the doctor. How can you say to a mother that you found her daughter if you didn't? And she started to go. She didn't recognize me. She went away.
So your mom is in Israel, not in Brazil.
No.
And she was looking for you
In the hospital.
in a hospital.
She got to me. She looked at me.
And she
And
didn't.
she didn't recognize me. When she started to go away, I said, mãe, mom in Portuguese. And then she looked at me like,
It is you.
where? No,
Oh,
like,
she's-
where did I come from? She got very close to me. And then she saw my eyes, the green and blue of my eyes opening a little bit. And she was like, this is you. And then she started crying and my stepfather came in. And then they did like the basic exams that they had to do. And my mom really wanted me to go home. So at
So
the same night, I went.
You were discharged already.
Yeah,
Same.
because I didn't have anything too serious
Yes.
going on.
So, how do you move on from there? I mean, your whole life has changed.
There are phases. First of all, for the first 2 days, I tried to really convince myself that I was crazy and that Hanani wasn't dead. And I actually did that. So for me, he died twice. Because I really started believing that he couldn't be dead. Then I received a phone call from his father saying that they recognized the body.
And his father lives in Israel?
Yes. And afterwards, we had the burial at the 11th of October, which was 2 days before his birthday, his 24th
first birthday.
Fourth birthday. So it was a very hard week. I always say that the funeral was way harder than the 7th of October and that I would go through a billion 7s of Octobers if that meant that I didn't have to go through his funeral.
Wow, that's a statement.
Yeah.
So what was it in the funeral that was harder than the actual terror?
Everything. I couldn't look at his brothers' faces and being the one who was there with him and he wasn't there. I wanted to apologize. I didn't know what
You
to
had
do.
a guilt
Yes,
this whole
I couldn't-
survivor's guilt.
I couldn't breathe. I couldn't move. I couldn't.
Is it true
bear.
that you have
Yeah,
survivor's guilt?
that's actually true.
It's true.
Yeah.
So you felt it.
Yeah. And I couldn't look at the hole in the floor, which looked smaller than his height, and to see him like inside of the plastic bag.
Was he wrapped with a talit?
He was with the Israeli flag,
Because
like a plastic bag and an Israeli flag. And I couldn't bear the thought that that was it. The first 2 months, I was like a zombie. I didn't want to live. I couldn't feel alive. I didn't want to eat or get out or do anything. My friends were desperate trying to help me. They were seeing like I was getting skinnier and skinnier and skinnier, and I didn't want to eat, and it didn't interest me. I didn't care about how I looked anymore. I didn't care about anything, anything at all, and I didn't know how to care. I was cold. I was sad. I didn't want to live anymore. I wanted to die together with Hanani. I knew that at some point it would get better, but I didn't want to get better. I just wanted to go.
Mhm.
And of course, a week after the 7th of October, I started psychological treatment. And 2 months after the massacre, I went to a retreat in Cyprus. There's a retreat to Nova survivors. That helped a lot. That made me start to want to go back.
Were there any survivors from your particular bomb shelter?
Yeah.
That you recognized them?
Yeah. I Daniel was there in Cyprus. Michelle, Roni. There were a few friends.
And did you become friends or something, or it was just?
It's not friends like we call each other every day. But if I see them,
you have this.
It's like I love them. But it's not like it's a connection that is different than every other connection that I ever had. It's like when we meet, we give the biggest hugs and we cry.
How often do you meet?
It's been a few months since I saw them.
So it's hard.
It's hard to like move from the story in
this. I don't think people understand what happened, to be honest with you.
They don't.
And I don't think people understand what, not just the dead, but what the living survivors have to go through since. And I don't think... okay, and this is probably the best segue into what I wanted to talk about now, which is, probably a couple days after October 7th, all across the world, people your age started marching in the street and blaming the victims as the aggressors and the aggressors as the victims. And everything changed, and everybody, it's amazing. I've never seen anything like that. I'm a grandson of Holocaust survivors, and what really intrigued me for many, many years is how come such a thing that was so well documented by the perpetrators. I mean, the Nazis were very, very, very proud of what they did, so they documented it and even admitted what they did, And how come within 50, 60 years, people deny that it ever happened? And I thought this is crazy until October 7th happened, and then I saw that it didn't take 60 years. It took 3 days to have people say that not only did it never happen, it's actually Israel the aggressor. The Israelis are attacking the poor Gazans. And
I worked as a spokesperson for the last year a lot of times, and I received a lot of groups, Jewish, non-Jewish politicians, ministers, students. And people that don't understand what happened, I put it in a very simple way.
Mm-hmm.
If I go right now to your house, inside of your house, with a machine gun, and I kill your wife and your kids, and I burn them in front of you, if you kill me, you are the protector. You protected your family, or you revenged, or it was your right. And I am the wrong person, because I came into your house and I killed your family. So you are justified if you kill me back, right?
Mm-hmm.
And somehow, because we're talking about Israel, it's the opposite. Yeah. No, let's praise the people that killed, they murdered in cold blood, raped, burned, and they're kidnapped.
And I can say this, they are still praised, admired by the people of Gaza, right? Even right now.
Yeah.
So here we are. It's been a year and almost 3 months since. Amazing. And Israel is in a war like never before. We're thankfully winning that war, but it was a very costly one. And you've been engaged in a lot of PR and a lot of explaining, basically, advocating for Israel, but as a survivor. The question I have for you is, has anything changed in your worldview? Everything. So what was the Rafaela before and the Rafaela after? What was it? Like, give me 3 things that are not the same.
First of all, she was naive.
Young and naive and
Young and naive and hopeful and
So how
trusting.
did you even think about then about Gaza, Palestinians, all of that?
Yeah.
And
Yeah, of
what was it
course.
that you had in mind at that time before?
No, I knew about the situation in Gaza. I know how the people were raised there. But I've been living here and I see those people coming here to work, you know?
Hmm.
Like people that live in
Yeah.
Gaza, they have authorization to work here and they can live here normally. And you have Arabs that are politicians, and you have Arabs that take care of Jewish, and the opposite. So I thought it was okay.
So you really thought there is a great coexistence?
I from what I was seeing, because I'm from Brazil. I haven't been here in other wars.
Yeah.
So I was innocent.
And what changed?
Doing everything. It's like I was very I would feel every person's pain as my own. I was very empathetic a lot, and I would care
Then
a lot.
or now?
Now,
It's different.
because I've seen too much,
Mm.
it's like it actually makes you a little bit colder.
Yeah.
I don't mean I don't care.
No, I get it. I get it. So has your worldview of everything
Yeah.
changed?
Yeah, I don't trust anybody anymore.
Yeah.
I think people are just too addicted to trying and to fit into somewhere that they would do anything and everything just to feel a part of something bigger, and that's
and they don't have the clue of
No.
what's going on, but they want to be part of.
I mean, come here.
Yeah.
People that don't know, come here. I invite all of the groups that are so supportive of Hamas. Come to Israel.
Yeah.
See for yourself.
Yeah.
I love seeing the groups that Hamas less support. You see homosexuals posting on Instagram about how they support Hamas. Come with the flag into Gaza and see what happened.
Yeah.
People were saying it like Israel tries its best, and I have friends that are soldiers, and I see that with my eyes. We lose lives that we hurt the less civilians as we can. It's a war. It's not pretty. It's not supposed to be pretty.
Yeah.
But Israel can't be quiet. Yes, come and attack all of our country, and
It's a war we never chose, we never started. And not only that, by the way, the ratio between terrorists and what they call uninvolved is actually the lowest here in this campaign than any other warfare, any
Yes.
other battlefield in history. In other words, you're trying to be as best as you can, and not only that, they don't appreciate that, they actually call you a murderer. They call it a genocide, and when it doesn't even fit the definition of a genocide, they want to change the definition of genocide so it'll fit.
Because that's the thing, Jewish people, they're always
You see double standard.
Yeah.
Do you see that Jews are always?
You see, there are a lot of wars that happened in the last years. There are a lot of problems. There are still concentration camps in the world in a few countries.
But no Jews, no news.
No, exactly. If you're not talking about Israel.
Yeah. You know, they just found a mass grave of 100,000 bodies in Syria.
Yeah, I heard about that.
Nobody talks about
No.
it. Yeah.
But if Israel was involved,
if you would have found a mass grave of 20 Palestinians, it would make headlines everywhere.
Yes.
So as we wrap it up, and first of all, I'm very thankful that you're willing to come and open that wound once again. I know it's not easy, but sometimes I hope it helps.
I think I do this because once it's an opportunity to talk about Hanani, which was the best person I've ever met. Second of all, a lot of the stories we won't hear.
Hanani's family, where do they live?
Hanani's mom, she's in Brazil, and all this mother side is in
Yes.
Brazil, and all the father side is here in Israel.
What part of Israel?
In the north.
Yeah, not too far from here.
No.
And so do you have anything in mind for the future as far as commemorating him? Like
I want to honor him in every way I can. I always talk about him. I always tell groups, and I just want people to know how filled with light he was. But I do want to. I have my own plans.
Yeah.
I don't like talking about things
No, no.
before I do them. I like to just have them, but I do want to find any way to honor him so that people know who he was.
You know, at the age of 17, I almost committed suicide. And then God really shook my life. And since then, he's the center of everything I live for. And, you know, from someone who is very non-spiritual, everything I do today is about God and the Spirit of God that is in me. Now, what was Rafaela before October 7th and after October 7th when it comes to spiritual, the spiritual side of you and where is God in this whole thing in your life? Do you even acknowledge?
Right now, he's in
Yes.
everything.
But
In everything. Before the 7th of October, I wasn't a big believer. I was more of a concrete person.
so actually,
I see, I believe, you know?
I get it. No, but the point is, a lot of people will always say that where was God in this whole thing? And so they will actually use catastrophes like that to justify atheism and say, well, you know, since God was not there, I don't think there is a God. In your case, you did see how God saved your life. And you did see that evil exists in the world. But, you know, God is still here. In that, it's not like he does not exist because evil is here. People choose evil.
Yeah, exactly.
And then you see these evil things happening.
God gives you the right to choose
Yes.
what you do with
That's right. You know, in the book of Deuteronomy, God says to Moses, I put before you evil and good, death and life. And then he says, choose life. It's a choice. Life is a choice.
Exactly.
Good is a choice. So you see that in you right now.
I see God in everything. Before the 7th of October, I didn't pay too much attention to God. I didn't even think about it that much. I think I believed him someplace. But nowadays, I talk to him because he talked to me. I can't explain the voice that I heard, and I can tell you I received so many signs after everything that happened. When I asked for support, for show me that you're here, and he showed me in ways that you can't explain it logically.
I'm going to give you the book that really describes my journey of how what happened to me, and you can see the full story. But you're coming from Brazil, and this is I'll end up here just by saying that there's a huge community in Brazil of non-Jews that really loves Israel.
Yeah,
they really
love Israel.
And the reason why they love Israel is because for them, believing in Jesus is not believing in a Catholic crucifix. It's believing in a Jewish Messiah that came to save them also. So they feel that they owe Israel so much.
And there are a few people that come into the Jordan River to baptize themselves.
But the love for Israel for them is divine. It's not earthly love. They believe that Israel cannot and should not be a nation that anyone should turn against, because they have a very unique reason for which they exist. And you don't want to go against God.
Yeah.
And God said to Abraham, I will bless he who bless you, and I will curse the one that curses you.
Exactly.
And no wonder why
the Arabs always lose the wars against Israel. You cannot come against Israel and be blessed.
Exactly. Even if you have the numbers,
Yes.
the machines.
It will never, the book of Jeremiah, it says in chapter 31, it says, only when the sun, the moon, and the stars will no longer be there, only then Israel will not be a nation before me. In other words, if you want to get rid of Israel, and if you want God to forget about them, then you have to first get rid of the sun, the moon, and the stars. And I always tell the Iranians, aim your rockets to the sun, the moon, and the stars,
Yeah.
because only then you may get rid of us. But what I want you to know is that, you're a Jewish girl coming all the way, all by yourself from Brazil to this country. God has definitely directed your steps. I also believe that God preserved you, and I know that He has much more to show you.
I know it's crazy, but after a few months, a year, I can see that even if I don't like it, and I don't have to like it, we're supposed to go through some things. There are some things that people are supposed to go through. It doesn't matter if it's good or bad. I understood that everything is a lesson. Maybe hard, maybe easy.
Yeah. But
But
I believe God is not done with you. I think
Yeah, me
He's
too.
going to
He's building up.
He's going to show you much more, and I want you to know that there are millions of evangelical Christians all around the world that they're going to be exposed to your story, and maybe continue, maybe start praying for you to find the source of life and hope in this world, and the Messiah. And then I want you also to remember that your story cannot be hidden or forgotten, should not be hidden or forgotten. And wherever you go, remember that even though sometimes you feel like, I've said it so many times, you will always touch somebody.
Yeah.
That may be that person who will make the difference in his community or even the entire country. I went to a little tiny church in Croatia, and little did I know that with that little tiny place with a small number of people, there was a couple there that introduced me to the entire country of Romania, and they lived in Vienna. I went to Vienna to visit them, and then a couple introduced me to the entire country of Brazil through a tiny meeting in a little bomb shelter in Croatia. I met people who opened the doors for me to speak and teach about Israel in countries.
Yeah.
And so wherever you are and whenever you talk, remember, you are going to touch many people. And even if it's few, these are the few.
It doesn't matter.
These are the few that God is going to use for so many to hear the truth. And my prayer for you is that God will continue to work in your life. And yes, He's not done with you. And He will also show you Himself in a greater way.
I hope so.
Toda rabba. Thank you, Rafael.
Toda rabba. Thank you so much.
Amazing. And I really hope to have you here in maybe a year or so and to hear more of your journey.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.